Thank you very much for letting us come here and address you today. My name is Dave Gahary. I am from the great state of New Jersey. Kidding, it's not. It is New Jersey, but great state, New Jersey sometimes. Anybody from New Jersey out here? One lady went, did you do that?
I was born there, I live in North.
Yeah. New Jersey is actually a very nice state. Many people don't realize New Jersey is mostly farms. You know, they think that it's urban areas or Jersey Shore or gangsters or Tony Soprano, but I grew up next to a farm and very rural. As a matter of fact, New Jersey has more horse farms than Kentucky. So people would be surprised. And you go to the west part of New Jersey, and the people there have deep Southern accents, which again would be. Where were you born, if you don't mind me asking? Newark. Okay, well, not Newark. Yeah. Tri-Palisade.
Lost my accent, but next to Fort Lee.
Another New Jerseyite. All right. Anybody else want to admit it right now while you have a chance? All right. Don't blame you. Oh, you've been there, right? Well, let me tell you why we're here. I was in the Navy, and I enlisted in the Navy in 1980, and I served aboard a nuclear-powered submarine called the USS Skate, if anybody ever heard of it. But the keel was laid in 1955, and the Skate was the first submarine to surface under the polar ice cap. So it breached the polar ice cap, and it spread the ashes of some famed British explorer. So I was on that submarine, and it was a nuclear fast attack submarine. There's two kinds of submarines. One is a fast attack, which is a hunter-killer. Our job is to kill surface ships, of course, the enemy. And another job is to spy on the enemy. So we would go to different locations and, like you see in the movies, and the periscope goes up, and then we just watch what's happening. The other type of submarine is a ballistic sub, which sits on the bottom of the ocean and for 6 months, and waits for the order from the president to launch nuclear missiles. Hopefully that's not going to happen with North Korea. But that is, if anything did happen, that is most likely the way that it would happen. We have our subs all around the world. They're our primary deterrent. So I served in the Navy. I was injured, and I was medically retired. While I was in the Navy, I had never heard of the ship, the USS Liberty, before. Has anyone here, by a show of hands, heard of the USS Liberty? Please, if you could. Okay, so just about 5 people. What do you know about the Liberty, ma'am?
That it was a ship that carried logistics during World War II.
Right, okay, all right. And down here, somebody raise their hands?
I know the thing he does.
Same thing? And another hand? Same thing. Does anybody know anything other than that? Okay. Well, the USS Liberty was a ship that was converted from a World War II cargo ship which ferried cargo and soldiers from the Pacific to the theaters of war in Asia. And they converted it in the mid-1960s as a spy ship. And what it did was it would patrol in its area and listen to communications. So just like now, the NSA, we hear that the NSA listens to all of our phone calls or our emails or all that good stuff. Well, that didn't exist back then. The Liberty was the most sophisticated spy ship in the world. And what happened was that 50 years ago, last June, it was patrolling the Eastern Mediterranean in international waters, listening to what was happening because there was a war that had broken out called the 6-Day War. It was between Israel and a few Arab countries. While the Liberty was in international waters, they were attacked viciously by unmarked jet aircraft and torpedo boats. 5 torpedoes were launched at the Liberty. This was June 8th, 1967. And they murdered 34 Americans, and they wounded 174. Out of a crew of 294, that's over a 70% casualty rate. Planes were launched off of some aircraft carriers to come to the rescue of the Liberty, and they were recalled twice. First time by Secretary of Defense McNamara, the second time by the President of the United States, Lyndon Baines Johnson. They let the Liberty sit in the water with body parts all over the deck. Not only had they shot over 5,000 armor-piercing shells in the deck, or in the ship, the skin of the ship, and a 40 by 40 foot torpedo hole, but they also put over 1,000 rocket and cannon holes this size into the ship. The country who attacked it was Israel, who claimed that it was a case of mistaken identity. Of course, 1 or 2 shots is a case of mistaken identity, not 5,000 or 1,000 or even 100. The reason that nobody knows about the Liberty is because our own government has covered it up since June 8th, 1967. In fact, the sailors, and there were a few Marines and a few civilians on the Liberty, were threatened that if they ever mentioned what happened, that they would go to jail or worse. And for the longest time, they never said anything. When I found out about the Liberty, I couldn't believe it like a lot of people do. And then I found out more and more, and I knew it was a national disgrace. The worst part about it, perhaps, besides the government cover-up, our own government, is that the USS Liberty is the most highly decorated ship in the history of the United States Navy for a single action. But nobody knows about it because of the cover-up. So we decided that, beside write a book about it, that we were going to make a movie. And that's why we're here to talk to you about that. And the fellow who's going to come up next was actually on board that ship on June 8th, 1967. He saw what happened. He saw the carnage. He saw the misery. He was injured, as most of the Liberty crewmen were, but he stayed with the ship until it got to dry dock, and then when it got back to the United States under a cloud of darkness, because they didn't want anybody to know what happened, that Israel attacked our own Navy ship in international waters. I want to introduce to you a very close friend of mine, and we get closer every day. His name is Philip Francis Tourney. He's from Colorado. He enlisted in the Navy in 1964. He served his country honorably. In fact, he re-enlisted. He served his country twice, and he has 2 honorable discharges. He's a great man, and he has an incredible story to tell you. What we'd like to do is, afterwards, if anybody is interested, we have Phil's new book called Erasing the Liberty, which he'll show you. If anybody is interested in getting this book, which tells you the story through the eyes of not just Phil, but through the eyes of many survivors and also other military people who had come to the aid of the Liberty. If you're interested, you can get the book. They're $25. Phil will autograph it, and he'll inscribe it, whatever you'd like. And every penny that goes to from the sale of books goes to the movie. So we want to make a full-length feature film about the USS Liberty. There's never been a movie made about it. How could the most decorated ship in the history of the United States Navy not have a movie made about it? That's why it's a national disgrace. But every year they make movies that are complete garbage. We know, we see them. I don't watch them, but I know the junk that comes across. I see it on the internet. So that's why we're here. I appreciate your time, and please let's give a warm welcome to my good friend Phil Tourney.
Thanks, Dave. I'm gonna put my watch right here so I don't run over time. Thank you, Dave, for the kind introduction. Ladies, I want to thank you very, very much for giving us the opportunity to be here, talk to you all, and hopefully get to know you. First of all, I thank you for being here because you're all patriots, and God bless you for that. And for that, you deserve a great big hand. All of us are patriots, especially you ladies, for being here with all the support you give your husbands and friends, brothers. It's just a wonderful deal, and thank you very much. As Dave said, I'm a survivor. I joined the military in 1964 when I was 17 years old. Did 2 tours of duty in Vietnam before I got aboard the Liberty. And as Dave said, it was the most sophisticated spy ship in the world. Now, our ship was in the Mediterranean. We were called there very quickly. Something was going on, and we found out that the war had begun. We got on station early that morning. We were overflown by Israeli reconnaissance aircraft for approximately 8 hours. They phoned back to their headquarters that they knew we were an American ship and friendly, and called us by name, USS Liberty. USS Liberty was clearly painted on its bow and its stern. Our American flag was always flying at all times. We never took it down. We were never out of international waters. We were in international waters at all times. Never once did we stray. But all of a sudden at 2 o'clock, we were attacked by a foreign government that we didn't know who was attacking us. They used unmarked jet aircraft, so we just assumed it was the Arabs. Now, when they overflew us with the recon aircraft, and I'm just going to back up here a second, the planes would come so low, we could wave at the pilots and they'd wave back. So we felt great that our great Israeli friends were there to help us. And I want to be very, very clear about this. We have many, 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 many Jewish American supporters in this country that want this book right here, Erasing the Liberty, to become a movie, because the truth has to come out. This is the greatest story never told. It's been hidden for 50 years, and 50 years too long. That's why I wrote the book. This is my second book. My first book was called What I Saw That Day. We came up with the name Erasing the Liberty because that's what they're doing to this great ship and the patriots that died aboard that ship that day. 34 of my shipmates were slaughtered. 174 others were wounded, including myself. Some of the wounded were so badly wounded you couldn't hardly look at them. They were so torn apart. It would break your heart. You'd break into tears. We didn't get any help for 18 hours when help was only 15 minutes away, and they recalled the jet aircraft and left us out there alone to die for 18 hours. It was one of the most horrible things that I've ever been in my life. I hope nobody ever has to go through that ever again. And that's why I'm doing this. That's why Dave and I are doing this. And I hope that the USS Liberty survivors, that I do them proud by being here, telling this story for them as well as myself, because when I wrote this book, I wanted to get as many survivors in there as I could, rather than just me, because this is not just my story. It's their story, and it's your story. It's America's story. You deserve to know the truth. Your government should not hold a darn thing back from you. Nothing. We pay them. They should tell you the truth. If we'd have taken care of this 50 years ago, we wouldn't be having the problems we have right now in the Middle East. It's almost going to get us in a war if it won't already. So this book is brought out to bring out the best and the very worst in humankind. And you'll read it in this book. It's the most comprehensive book that's ever been written about the USS Liberty in history. And I beg you, for your patriotism, to buy my book, support the movie, and support America. Because my dad told me, you know, if you're going to get something done, go to a woman. So that's exactly right, and I know that. So that's why I'm so happy to talk to the women first. It's your wonderful auxiliary. And the kind Madam President, thank you so much for letting us be here. It is so graceful of you to do that, and it means a lot to me and the crew of the USS Liberty. And I know if those guys were here right now, they would all get up and applaud you for your patriotism and your help in making this great movie and reading this great book. As Dave said, this book is on sale for $25. I've got about 1 minute left, and I'm not going to break the rules here. I'm going to keep it down to 15 minutes. Dave took 9, I'm going to take 6. So, sorry about that, Dave. But that's just kind of the way it is. You know, we get started, and it's hard to quit talking about this because it means so much to us, and it means so much to America. So show your patriotism, show your love of country, show your love of your family, and let's get the truth out. Like I say, this book is selling for $25. It usually goes for $50 to $100. We would not sell it to Patriots for any more than basically what we paid to get the book printed. It's $25. I'll tell you what, $25 will go a long ways to helping us make this movie. We get a lot of donations for $1, $5, $10. And we thank them every one. A lot of them live in the basement apartments. They don't have any money, but they want to help get this story out. So we're counting on you patriots, you wonderful women, to help us out. Thank you for giving me the honor and the time to speak with you. God bless America, and God bless you. Thank you.